Hunt for the Fallen Star, Chapter 13, Pirate Encounter. Heather's knuckles whitened on the top of Casey's seat. Maybe we should try to outrun them? Maybe that space jump thing again? Casey looked around. The other's eyes were riveted on the floating display, and Layla's dark skin seemed blanched. See if you can find anything that might be weapons-related. He focused on his brother, adding, and more effective than a handgun in space. I'll do my best to outrun them, although I'm not sure where we'll outrun them to. The space jump thing might be an option, but like the cloak, I'm not sure how to turn it on or where we might end up. His fingers became partially absorbed into the warm domes. If you're not seated, better do so. An urgent alert shifted attention to the display. The 6 ships had halved their distance during the short conversation. The 5 crab ships split apart to form a W-like shape, with the center ship, the next 2 ships lower in the formation, and the 2 outermost ships higher up. Red highlights in the center display indicated 2 energy streams racing toward the fallen star from each of the crab ships. In the image, the streams looked like extraordinarily long liquid ropes, reaching out to entangle their prey in a cosmic web. While a volley of 10 energy web streams converged on the fallen star, a second set was immediately released. Red hues bristled around the console displays. A blue bar illuminated in front of Casey, and he felt a warmth under his right index finger. Glancing at the dome, the blue hue encircled the finger. Casey pressed in lightly, and the blue halo engulfed the 3D image of the fallen star. There's our answer to their friendliness quotient, said James. But I don't suggest we test the shields. I think whatever's coming is a lot more than AK rounds. Yep, Casey answered. He gripped the small domes in his hands and turned the fallen star away from the oncoming energy streams and ships. Adrenaline surged inside, and he whipped the ship back towards the attackers. Said Heather, I thought we were running away. From the right seat, James glanced at his brother, gray-blue eyes uncertain. Yeah, I don't think this is a good idea. The streaks of energy sped towards the fallen star, their appearance like massive space snakes spiraling in on their prey. A virtual display instantly surrounded Casey, fully encompassing him in a 3D real-time image, much like what had happened in the space jump. His focus sharpened, breathing calmed, awareness increased, and time seemed to slow down. He saw the cigar-shaped vessel still far behind the 5 crab ships while they tracked towards the fallen star. The first 10 energy streams were interacting and forming the tendrils of a large web. The ends closer to the fallen star eagerly reached out, wriggling into space towards their victim like a massive jellyfish. The web ends farthest from the fallen star joined together. As the entanglement sped closer, Casey moved his hands and the ship darted up. The web matched the ship's movement and quickly closed the distance. The second salvo of light's streaks were coalescing into a similar energy web, a near-identical image of the first. Casey noticed in the seemingly random twisting of 2 energy streams that the tendrils would briefly pull up further apart. He deftly dove the ship through the opening and rolled to avoid the energy web whipping back after them. In his peripheral vision, the 3D display showed the energy streams from the first web reversing direction and once again gaining on the fallen star. In front of him, the second web was extending its tendrils towards the arms of the first. Heather's eyes were fixated on the unfolding action in the 3D display. Looks like some kind of energy orb. Casey simply nodded. The tendrils of the second web were nearly touching the ends of the first, and the fallen star was still within the enclosing boundaries of the energy orb. He raced the ship towards the relative bottom of the enclosing web. Sensing another brief opening, Casey pulled up and corkscrewed a dive to the right. They burst through the opening just when the 2 half webs met in a giant energy ball. The joining released a brilliant flash inside the closed space. The ship's view screens dimmed momentarily. Great flying, Casey. I wonder what those would have done, said James. I'd guess it was some kind of immobilizing system, suggested Layla. Maybe our attackers are just trying to keep us from running. Based on what we saw, you couldn't have outrun those energy streams. I'm not sure what made you think of that maneuver. Casey studied the display surrounding him, watching the ships regroup. James's hands clenched his armrests. I wish there was something we could fight back with. His eyes scoured the walls, floor, and ceiling. There's got to be some defenses on this ship. Whatever happened to the cloaking thing? Whoa, wait, what's this? 2 silver domes rose up from the armrest under James' hands. An orange light laced the outer perimeters. James placed his hands on the controls, and white lights lit up under his thumbs. "What is it?" asked Casey, his attention still on the display. "I'm a little busy." The 5 crab ships were closer, but had split away from the offset W formation. The center ship continued its flight directly towards the fallen star. The ships on the high sides veered out and circled in a dive towards the fallen star. The 2 lower ships had dropped further down to sweep up from below. James tried to explain. 2 ball thingies like yours just showed up on my armrest. There's an orange glow around them and lights under my thumbs. Well, press your thumbs in. We haven't died so far. His teeth clenched. James pressed on the lights, and a holographic display encircled him. He moved his hands on the dome, feeling the orbs rolling in their hidden cradles, and the display panned and tilted around him. The image rotated to the rear of the ship, and he saw the energy web close in on itself. 3 concentric circles briefly appeared on the display. At the center of the display, passed over one of the crab ships circling in from the right. James's back straightened. "I think we may have something." His hand spun the orbs in the display around him haphazardly, flipping and twisting before he got the rings centered on the ship again. Casey's voice tensed. "Hope that means you got something to shoot with." Flashes of light burst from the center ship. "Because we got incoming from the front." Near one of the light bursts that tore through space, a smaller 3D image leaped out. Inside the image, red alien characters hovered near the 2 torpedo-like projectiles. James shifted the orbs to place the target rings over the torpedoes. "Those are tough to track," he muttered. A center ring flashed green, and James squeezed his right index finger. Green energy burst from the top of the ship, ripping one torpedo in half. A second burst tore apart the next one. Casey rolled the ship to the right. "Whatever you're doing, do it faster. I don't think they're happy with you, because we've got more torpedoes coming in from all the crab ships." The circles repositioned themselves over the next torpedo while James maneuvered the orbs. "I think they're just a bit crabby and aren't interested in talking." The front torpedoes vaporized in succession. He shifted the display to the lower right. Heather's hands gripped her armrests while her attention was divided among the different 3D displays and watching the holographic display around James. "There must be something I can do instead of just sitting here." Under her tightened hands, small domes rose up on the armrests, and orange light circumnavigated the perimeters. Startled, she lifted her hands off and set them back down on the controls. She felt her fingers gently sink into the surface. She pressed in the amber lights under her thumbs. A 3D display engulfed her, showing her a view from the underside of the fallen star. 2 crab ships were rapidly approaching from 2 sides. In a couple of seconds, the targeting circles closed in on 2 incoming torpedoes from the lower left. "Oh, something happened," James said, concerned. "I can't see the lower ships or torpedoes in the targeting view. They were just here, but now my view's restricted to the top." He quickly reoriented his targeting to incoming torpedoes from the top right. "I got you covered." Heather smiled, and the 2 torpedoes were ripped apart in quick succession. She moved the display to find other threats. 2 more torpedoes disappeared in flashes of light under James's defense. "Hang on," said Casey, whipping the ship into a right diving roll. James and Heather attempted to target the torpedoes, but the rotation of the ship changed their view. The torpedoes shifted directions and self-corrected their trajectories to match the fallen stars. The spiraling dive took the fallen star below the forward crab ship, and it dove after them. The 2 lower ships made half-spiral turns to end up behind the fallen star. The 2 higher ships adjusted their dive. "Okay, now I'm feeling a bit upside down," said Heather as she rotated the 3D view around her to figure out where the torpedoes and ships were. "Get used to it. We're in space," said James, scanning for targets. "There is no up or down." Heather shot back with a half grin. "So now you're suddenly an expert in space dogfights?" "Well, I do have more hits than you do." "Not for long," said Heather. She whipped the display afterward, 4 torpedoes were closing in. While Casey continued to twist aft and right, James and Heather became adept at re-engaging the targeting circles with the ship's rotation lost when the ship's rotation lost the targeting fix. Before James could fire, the view rotated and Heather shot and took out one of the torpedoes. Her second blast blew through the next torpedo. Another energy burst vaporized the remaining pieces. "Hey," complained James when the shattered remains rotated back into view. "That was mine." "Sorry, but you need to be faster." James's next shot went wild as the remaining two torpedoes closed in. Heather's shot passed between them. James's hands, fingers slightly embedded into the silver domes, felt moist with sweat. His next burst missed. Before he could respond, an energy bolt from Heather sliced through one torpedo. The final torpedo hit the shield and exploded. The rear view screens and targeting systems dimmed. The blue hue around the ship flickered slightly, and Casey noted several meters or gauges fluctuate momentarily on the flat surface of the forward console. "James, you let one through," accused Casey. "You didn't fly fast enough," James retorted. "True, I'm still figuring things out. At least the shield's held." "Yeah, but that one torpedo was worse than everything those gunships shot at us." Casey glanced around. "Everyone okay?" Layla was still pale. "Layla, you okay?" "Yeah, I just forgot how much I don't care for that." In response to Casey's puzzled look, Layla added, "Fast maneuvering." Heather's targeting display zoomed in on the 5 crab ships which had begun to regroup. "I wonder why they haven't fired anything else at us." A yellow light meter with some wavy curves on it just appeared in front of me," said James. "Kind of reminds me of an audio waveform." "It's in front of me as well," replied Casey. "Maybe they want to talk," said Layla. Casey gave James a sly smile. "You're the sweet talker, and I know you'd love to talk to them. You're promoted to communications officer. You can see what they want." James narrowed his eyes in a friendly grimace, and then touched the yellow waveform. A 3D face appeared, hovering over the center console. The man in the image looked like the leader of a biker gang. Several scars crisscrossed dark leathery skin and intertwined with tattooed markings on the right cheek. The gaze of black eyes pierced out of their sockets. Long black hair was pulled into a knot behind the head, the excess hair hanging loose. The long, crooked nose looked like it had been broken several times. Layla stifled a gasp at the alien's guttural voice as the alien's guttural voice rasped. "Sorteros, skaton de gagonzin." Slightly pointed teeth brandished themselves with the alien while the alien continued its demand. "Temuzad yimet, oga jordiendo vento rukantam." Below the image, an ethereal light bar slowly pulsed red. Casey cocked his head at his brother. "My guess is that floating light bar is the push-to-talk button?" The corner of James's mouth curled slightly, and he touched the floating bar. The light switched to green. "We're sorry for the technical difficulties you're experiencing. Unfortunately, we don't have a gravitonic spanner or Barlow lens to help calibrate your quasar drive. However, since the extended warranty on your starship has expired, we can help you find a great deal that will save you loads on future repairs." His mouth twitched in an effort to keep straight-faced, and he touched the light bar back to red. The furrows on the alien's forehead deepened, and its dark eyes stared in confusion. The image disappeared. Casey's right brow lifted at his brother. "I guess he's disappointed we didn't bring a gravitonic spanner?" His focus shifted back to the display. "Oh, shoot, I wasn't watching. Looks like he's upset about your extended warranty offer." "What?" asked Heather. "Oh." The long cigar ship loomed ominously in the front view screens. Over the center console, the 3D display showed the fallen star, smaller than the other ship's bridge, heading face to face with the cigar ship. The 5 crab ships were circling into a V-shaped formation behind the fallen star. "Should we take out some of those crabs?" James asked Casey. "I think Heather and I can take out most of them before they know what hit them." Casey's head tilted to the right. "No, we don't know what that big ship can do or what it's waiting for. The dome was warm under his right thumb. He felt the urge to accelerate and dive away from the large ship. Casey pressed his thumb and rotated the orbs. The fallen star dropped into an accelerated dive just as several jets of light erupted from the cigar ship. The bursts passed through where they had been a second earlier. The crab ships immediately dove after their prey and launched additional torpedoes. "If you didn't get the message, you two can start firing now," announced Casey when the cigar ship released additional bolts of energy at them. 2 torpedoes exploded as James and Heather renewed their competition. Behind the fallen star, the 5 crab ships flared out into inverted crescent formation. One energy beam from the cigar ship collided with the top shields, and the view screens dimmed momentarily. Heather and James continued to eliminate torpedoes. Casey pushed forward with his left hand while rotating the right inward. The ship inverted itself and reversed direction, facing its adversaries. The crab ships peeled away, attempting to quickly reverse course, but the fallen star passed through them faster than they could turn. The large cigar ship now loomed in front of them, the distance rapidly narrowing. Behind them, James's energy weapon took out another torpedo. A couple of shots from Heather burned through a torpedo and sent its debris tumbling into space. More blasts erupted from the cigar ship, tearing through space at the fallen star like claws of energy. Casey banked left, and 2 energy bolts raced beneath the ship. A third smashed into the front shields. The energetic impact translated into an internal shudder as the energy was absorbed and redirected. Status lights and alien characters lit up around the floating image of the fallen star over the console. 3 concentric rings appeared in front of Casey. His hands gently adjusted the control orbs until the ship's heading and tracking rings centered over the large cigar ship. From the corner of his vision, he saw a light around his right index finger, and he pressed in. The front screens dimmed with an explosion of energy that erupted from the front of the fallen star. Casey momentarily wondered if the ship was entering a space jump. Immediately the light came on again, and Casey pressed it. A second rupture of energy blasted towards the cigar ship. The first blast pounded into the large ship's energy field. Iridescent waves undulated outward from the impact point and rippled throughout the shield like a lightning bolt splashing into a lake of energy. A half second later, the second blast penetrated the same point. Instead of ripping outward, the energy waves were sucked into the impact site where they disintegrated. Bright fractures of energy ricocheted throughout the shield, and the cigar ship's shields dissolved into nothing. The distance between the fallen star and the cigar ship was critically close. Casey rolled the fallen star as he pulled up, and the ship flipped over the alien ship in an inverted position. As Casey continued a tight roll over the cigar ship, the pursuing torpedoes were unable to course correct quick enough and exploded into the unshielded large ship. 6 consecutive explosions blew out its side. Once clear of the cigar ship, the fallen star straightened its course. Rotating her weapons view aft, Heather fired at the enemy ship. The plasma bolts shredded holes through the ship's side. Small explosions began bursting from other parts of the ship. Several poorly aimed energy beams passed harmlessly by the fallen star. "Watch out!" shouted Layla, pointing at the floor. Casey was already responding. 3 crab ships had dropped under the larger ship and were arcing towards the underside of the fallen star. 3 plasma blasts raced from the ships and ruptured against the lower shield. The fallen star shuddered again with the energetic absorption. Over the center console, a cross-sectional image of the fallen star appeared, the underside pulsing yellow. 3 metered lights on the console in front of Casey were also yellow. Heather apologized and targeted one of the crab ships. "Sorry, I should have seen those." The center crab ship lost its midsection where plasma ripped through. The second ship was sent spinning, crippled into space. The third ship looked like it was heading right for Heather. Her eyes narrowed and index fingers pressed in. 2 torrents of plasma ripped through space and sliced through the approaching crab ship. "Hey," said James, "leave some for me." "Awesome shooting, Heathers," exclaimed Casey. "James, keep your eyes open. There's still 2 more somewhere." The final 2 crab ships zipped from the front of the large ship and were right in front of the fallen star's right on the fallen star's tail. Casey slid his left hand back and twisted the right. The ship slipped 180 degrees, facing its 2 opponents while flying backwards. The light from under his finger lit again, and Casey released a plasma ball from the front of the ship that ripped through one of their pursuers. The last crab ship veered away and fled. On his right, Casey saw James center the targeting rings on the fleeing ship and hesitate. "Let it go," said Casey. "What if he tells his friends? If he has any left, we'll take care of him. I just don't feel right about shooting someone in retreat." "Yeah," James reluctantly agreed. "I wouldn't want to be shot at if I was running away either." Layla's white knuckles gripped the sides of her chair. "You should have taken it out. I don't think we've seen the last of them." The display floating around Heather rotated to view the large ship. Maybe not, she said, but it's the right thing to do. Besides, look. Through the rear view screen, small explosions continued to consume the large ship. An eruption slashed the side of the command bridge. Objects and debris poured out into space. Sections of the hull broke away, and the ship's course dropped towards the moon. A large piece of the hull blew off with an explosion, its gape revealing a holding bay. Looks like it's some kind of cargo or transport ship, said James. The moon's gravity tugged at the large ship. An additional explosion sent it careening towards the moon. Casey decelerated the fallen star, and they watched the long elliptical ship fall into the atmosphere. Looks like they're in for a rough landing, said Casey. Well, I don't think we have to worry about any of them coming back for more, Heather added smugly. Casey, that last move was pretty smooth, said Layla. Yeah, how'd you figure that one out? Asked Heather. I remembered on Earth when the ship just instantly seemed to jump. I guessed we could turn without making the normal arc. It worked better than I thought. Of course, sometimes it feels like the ship has a mind of its own and it's guiding me, kind of teaching me what it can do. What kind of damage did we get? Asked James. I know we had a few good beatings. His head shook. I'm surprised the ship doesn't have some kind of auto-targeting or weapon systems. It took a bit to learn how to move and target the guns. Maybe it does, and we just haven't gotten past the basic interface. As for damage, the cross-section indicates some possible damage on the underside. Casey pointed at the 3D display, but I'm not sure. There are a few meters or gauges of sort. Some dropped or changed colors, which I don't think was good, but it looks like things are slowly rising back up. The ship might have some sort of self-healing. Heather touched a few light bars on her display. Do you think it's good enough to get us home? The targeting system and display that surrounded her seat vanished, and the domes dissolved back into the armrests. Probably, but we still don't know where home is. We need to find a way to access the ship's star maps or find someone who can help us. It might be good to take a quick visual check of the ship. Not that we know how to or if we can make repairs. He grinned at James. We might need that gravitonic spanner. Anyway, I think we should land on the planet, I mean moon, check things out, and hopefully take a break. I like James's earlier suggestion about looking for food and water, added Layla, but I don't want to be stuck down there if we end up having more unpleasant company. Casey pointed at the center console where the fallen star orbited the moon. I think we should check out the green spot on the surface first. Maybe we can find some water and answers. Heather pointed to a small red blip that moved quickly across the moon. What's that? Not sure, said Casey. He touched the red blip. An image popped out to the side of the blip and showed a streak of fire racing through the atmosphere. After several seconds, the flames died out, and the wreckage of the cigar ship careened toward the green spot on the surface. A few seconds later, the red blip abruptly stopped near the green spot. In the pop-out display, an eruption of debris, dust, and smoke filled the image. Within a minute, the clouds began to dissipate, and the smoldering remains of the cargo ship, smashed into a self-made crater, could be seen. Casey winced. Looks like the ship landed, but I doubt seatbelts would have helped anyone. Yeah, said James. Try not to land that way. Maybe we should see if anything's salvageable, suggested Layla. Like what? Asked James. Maybe food? I'm not sure if much survived that wreck, commented Casey. But it looks close to the ruins of those cliffs, so it might not hurt to check. Everyone buckle up, or get in your seats. Heather got herself comfortable in the chair. Would we even know what we can eat, she wondered. James fumbled with the control domes on the armrests as the targeting display continued to wrap around his seat like a ghostly apparition. Hey, Heather. He removed his hands from the domes and turned towards her. How'd you get your targeting display to turn off? The display around him vanished, and the domes disappeared seamlessly into the armrest. Never mind. Now we just need to learn how to activate them when we want to. End of chapter.